Today on The Real Fan Review, our four-man crew goes over our thoughts on the Hollywood trend of reviving old franchises versus starting up some new ones. Plus, we're going over the latest movie news for this week. Welcome to The Real Fan Review. What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav, one of your co-hosts here of The Real Fan Review. We just want to thank you guys for joining our conversation today. Also, if you want to ask any questions to us, send any questions to us, you can reach us at therealfanreview@gmail.com. You can reach us at our Facebook page, our Instagram, and we even have a website now, therealfanreview.com. So today we're going over this trend that Hollywood's doing with taking old franchises, bringing them back, opposed to starting up some new ones. And we just want to get our opinions out there and on our take on what's going on out there because, you know, I noticed this week in the movies, there really wasn't a lot to go see. There was Hellboy, there was Pet Sematary, and not really much else. And when I saw the reviews for Hellboy, I value my money, man.
I'm like, I'll just rewatch the old Hellboy. How about that?
Dude, the Del Toro ones were pretty good. I mean, listen, the reviews came out.
And
I saw.
I thought Selma Blair was pretty hot.
Yeah, she did
movies.
good. She was great,
Agreed.
man. And listen, I saw 4.5. The Rotten Tomatoes score was at like 11%, I think it was. And
that was Al's official review of Hellboy.
Yeah, man. So once I saw that, I was like, do I really want to go see it? And mind you, I got the three movies a month thing for $20. And I was like, do I want to waste one of those? I could just use this on Avengers like 3 times instead of seeing this thing. So listen, I still might go see Pet Sematary, but I don't know. I mean, listen, let me introduce the guys and we'll get some opinions on this. To my right, we got my boy Sanj in the building.
Well, hey everybody, how you doing? It's good to be with Al again. I think I'm definitely gonna go see Pet Sematary tomorrow because it's my day off and my plans for tomorrow got canceled. I was supposed to go to the museum, which I love going to the museum, but because I was actually gonna go to the planetarium this time. But yeah, so that got canceled. So I believe I will go see Pet Sematary tomorrow because I did want to see it last week, but I was just too tired.
Yeah, same with me. I was gonna see it last Thursday, and then I was just beat tired, so I couldn't do it. To my man in the front, the man in the chair, we got my boy Al.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back.
Al, you got a chance to see any of these things, or what's your take?
God, none of those movies. Now, I had hopes for Hellboy because
Me too.
I wasn't a big fan of the originals, but I enjoyed them. Like they were entertaining, and especially the fact that they used the guy from Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, David Harbour.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
so I
that
like
guy.
the way he played his character on Stranger Things. So I thought he could lend some credibility to the role.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. It's definitely a wait for DVD.
Same
Wait
here.
for it on Netflix or something.
And
like that for me.
it's cool. It's crazy because a couple other reviewers out there. You know, I listen to a bunch of reviews. I'm into movies, so I watch everything.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple people were like, "Listen, is it a complete waste of time? No. There's some fun and there's some cool things to see in the movie, but in the end, it kind of falls apart." But again, my time is very valuable, and I couldn't really do it, man.
Mm-hmm.
To my left, we got my man, my bro, B.
What's up, guys?
Hey man, what'd you think of those review scores there?
I mean, I knew it was gonna be a no-go when I went on IO9, and the title of the article was Hellboy. Wow, that was terrible. And then I
Played
went,
it simple.
and then I was like, okay, well, you know, IO9 they have a lot of opinionated people on there. So I went to IGN, another site of opinionated people, and I was like, it was almost the same title. I'm like,
Yeah.
was this written by the same person? Nope. I was like, Hellboy, terrible. I'm like, okay.
I think one of the reviews I saw said Hellboy, hell nah. Which is driving me crazy, man, because you know what? I hate taking other people's opinion and just listening to it and not coming up with my own opinion of it.
I mean,
right?
we said the same thing with Batman vs Superman, and we've said this a couple times
Yeah.
now. But like, we loved it, and then the reviews came out and it was like, what was it? IGN gave it an
killed it.
okay. They gave it
Yeah.
an okay. And so like I said the same thing. I kind of base my own opinion. I make my own opinion of things. but I was very iffy on it to begin with.
Mhm.
You know, just from what I saw, I wasn't certain I wanted to see it, and so I was like, I saw the reviews. I'm like, yeah. I was like, that's pretty much how I was feeling about it. I was like, I'm gonna wait on this one.
The problem with some of this stuff is that if you go to the comic books or the graphic novels that they come out of, it's a lot darker.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
certain audience.
Well,
for
they
it.
tried because they
than
tried to
when
make
it
this a
comes-
rated R
comes to-
movie.
Then when it comes to the screen, and then they try to lighten it up when it comes to the screen, and that's what ends up ruining it. Some things, if you're not going to be able to do it as dark as it is in the source, it's
Yeah.
not gonna translate well.
Right.
Visually, it may.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's not really gonna. It's gonna be, the story's gonna be hollow. It's gonna feel hollow. It's gonna feel missing.
Missing
that it-
something,
yeah.
right? Because it's not keeping
And
up with
I've
what the
read
comic book said.
I've read some of the Hellboy graphic novels and comics, and I mean the stories. You know, you can see the stories gravitate to certain audiences. You know, like I didn't really get a good kind of read from reading the Hellboy comics, but I did like the first two Hellboy movies with Ron Perlman. I liked those a lot, and I really wanted to see a third.
Right.
You know, because it was different from when I read in the comics. I was
Weren't
like,
they
okay.
supposed to make a third? Because I even like the second
They
one.
really
Hellboy with Del
pitched for
Toro.
a third, but it just never happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if Guillermo del Toro, I don't know if he wanted it or not. I think he wanted to make
I
it,
think
but I
he was
feel like it
starting to
was.
design some of the
Yeah.
stuff for it, but just for some reason, I guess they didn't think there was enough of a crowd for it, so
I
they
think
just
so.
didn't
It's just
go
like the
through with
comics,
it.
really, for it.
Right.
It just there's a certain audience that likes Hellboy, and it just didn't really pull through.
I gotta say, one comic that translated really well to the big screen was Watchmen. That really translated
Yeah.
really well
That
to
was-
the big screen, and it felt like really true to the comics.
It was like
and the
straight
graphic
comic
novel.
panel
Yeah.
to the film.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my
Yeah.
favorites too was Spawn.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Spawn. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
Do you know they're bringing that back?
Yes,
They're trying to bring
I'm
Spawn back.
Okay.
I am interested in the idea of it, but from what I'm hearing, I'm kind of not interested in seeing it.
Okay.
I want to see a trailer if that ever comes out.
Yeah.
Have they said who they're looking to put as a character?
Was it Jamie Foxx?
Jamie Foxx right now.
Jamie? No, then no.
he said,
Yo,
no,
but
I'm not
Jamie
doing
Foxx,
it.
don't sleep.
I
He's a
like
good
him
actor.
as
So
a
so
character,
here's the
but
thing:
not for that
if you've
role.
heard the talk of what the Spawn movie is from the man who created it himself, he's saying the Spawn movie is gonna be more of like a cop movie, and Spawn is just in the background. So Spawn isn't really like doing his Spawn thing. It's
No,
gonna be
they
about
can't
the
do
main
that.
character is gonna be some cop or something, and it's gonna follow him as he try and like discover who Spawn is and this and that.
Boo!
Yeah, exactly. Like when you bring it back to who played Spawn first, was it
Michael
Michael
J.
J.
White.
White?
Michael J. White.
Michael J. White,
Michael
right?
J.
You know
White,
that movie
yeah.
was legit.
Yeah.
Dude, that's kind of like what they did with Godzilla. It was a Godzilla movie, but we were watching freaking
Like Army Brats.
we were watching the
Broderick.
Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Quicksilver.
I'm like, Jesus, aren't they twins? No, but, it's a different movie, but yeah, man. But you know, like I said, when you see these scores and you don't hear anything too positive, it kind of kills it for you. Because I was looking forward to that day, that Thursday. I was ready to go that night to go see Hellboy.
No, I was waiting for my text too, because
Yeah.
had you that night, listen, I was tired, but had you texted me and say, "Let's go see this movie,"
Yeah.
that would have been enough for me to get up and go.
Listen.
And when I didn't get that text, I'm like, yeah,
We always
I ain't
wait for
going
the
nowhere.
yo
If it-
fellas.
Yeah, yo fellas.
had it got like a 7, I would have still been like, all right, let's make it happen. But I was tired, and then I saw 4, 4.5. I was like, no. I'm staying in. And then I was gonna see Pet Cemetery, and I ended up thinking too much about it because is it me or is this Pet Cemetery spelt wrong?
It's supposed.
It is
It's on
spelled wrong.
purpose.
It's on purpose.
It's on purpose.
It was driving me crazy because I'm like, I'm spelling cemetery with an S.
That's not. It's on purpose. Yeah. You're like, wait a
I was
minute.
just sitting at my desk and I just started looking up
So
in
wait,
the sky. I'm like,
Cemetery.
I know how to spell cemetery.
So wait, do you want me to wait till tomorrow night then, and we go see Pet Cemetery?
You don't have to, man, because I don't know how things are gonna work out tomorrow night.
Because I'm saying I'd rather
Yeah.
like go with a friend.
I hear you. Oh, yeah, definitely.
I don't want to be that like old loser guy at the movies in the middle of the day by himself.
Yo,
You know?
Tuesday matinees. I'm just saying, like at 11 o'clock, you got a discount ticket.
You guys got to hear this funny story, right? So, Civil War came out, and we all watched it together as usual. Loved it. Thought it was incredible. That Saturday, because we saw it Thursday night. That Saturday night, my wife was really tired, so she went to bed a little early. And I just started looking at the movie times. I'm like, I need to see this again. So I saw that there was like was it 9:30 or 9:45 showing. So I bought the ticket and I was like, I'll go by myself. So I go there and everything is taken. All the seats are pretty much taken. So I'm sitting towards like the front of the theater, which I hate, but that's where I sat. That's where I sat. And I already saw the movie. Just wanted to see it again. So I sit down and there's a couple and there's like 4 seats left. So I was like, oh, cool. So let them sit there. I'll save a seat and then I'll sit in the between there. So I sat in the seat away from them, 1 seat away from the couple. The movie starts and I hear, hey, bro, can you move down a little bit? So I'm like, oh, sure. So I move over. That guy's girlfriend sits next to me. I'm next to the other girl that's with the couple, with the other guy. And then they have a friend. So all the rows are taken.
Yeah.
So we start watching the movie. And I hear the girl to the left of me goes, hey, babe, I think he's by himself. I was like, oh, man. Dude, for the rest of the movie, I never turned to the left.
You see, that's where you and I are different. I would have turned like, yeah, I came by myself because I wanted to see the movie, just
but
like y'all.
It's one of those things that's so awkward sometimes. But you know what? Look, I'm a movie fanatic. My wife isn't, so there's gonna be times where I'm going to the movie by myself with no shame.
I mean, last year, was it last year or I think it was last year or 2 years ago?
Did you go Power Rangers?
Yep, I called out of work. I just wasn't feeling it that day. I was like, I'm gonna call out of work, and I was like, I'm gonna go see Power Rangers. I went to the theater. There was 3 people, and we like all looked at each other because we're all like in different rows. We're like, what's up? What's good? How you doing?
Universal.
You're all here, right? We're all here for Power Rangers. All right, cool.
So for me, like if I was rating, like for me to go see a Power Rangers movie, my yes or no on a Power Rangers movie will always hinge on, are you as cute or not as cute as the original Pink Ranger, Amy Jo Johnson? Like if you don't look as good in that Pink Ranger costume as she did, I ain't going to see the movie.
I don't know.
That was the only reason I watched Power Rangers.
Oh my god.
The Pink Ranger.
I don't know who played the Pink Ranger in the movie.
Amy Jo Johnson?
No. In this movie.
Oh, actually,
Well,
there
she
was
was very pretty.
There was a fan film. There was a fan film that they had made a trailer where they had
It was like the live version.
Yeah,
of what
the
was-
dark
oh,
Power
dark
Ranger.
version.
Oh, why
yeah.
am I blanking on her name now? But she's like ridiculously gorgeous. She played Doll in some of the
It'll come to you tonight
Vin
when you.
Diesel movies that he's not
And Riddick, Chronicles of
yeah,
Riddick.
Chronicles of Riddick.
She was in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Why am I blanking?
Yeah, I
on
forget her name too.
And like I can totally.
That's
look
all
it
I
up.
know her from.
Yeah,
I
but-
don't know her name.
But yeah, she was, and they made her the Pink Ranger, and that was all right.
Son, have you ever gone to the movies by yourself?
I have gone to the movies by myself.
Yeah. What movie did you see?
It was a Spider-Man movie.
Oh, okay. Al, how about you, man? Ever go to the movies by yourself?
When I used to work at the theaters.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't count.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's like-
you
that's
could be
like a
oh, it's
perk.
free.
Yeah, that's like I'm just gonna hang out at work.
Oh, it's my break. Let me go watch a movie.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, other than when you worked at the theater,
You've never gone by yourself.
I think.
He said, "Not like you weirdos."
No. I have.
Okay.
I just don't remember what it was. It wasn't like you know what it was? It was none of my girlfriends have. Well, my wife now definitely, but back then none of my girlfriends were ever like into sci-fi.
Into movie. Sci-fi. Okay.
So it was like one of the sci-fi movies that I couldn't talk one of them into.
Probably like Event Horizon or something.
Probably, yeah.
That
That was a good one.
That was
though.
really good,
It was
yeah.
good, but yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, man. So we missed out on Pet Cemetery and Hellboy, but it looks like maybe 1 or 2 of us might see Pet Cemetery this week. So that'll be cool.
I'm interested. I like the original Pet Cemetery. I was a little upset that they gave the twist away in the trailers for the new one.
Don't tell me because I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, you didn't read the books or you didn't see the first one, so you won't know. But it's kind of like out there now. I'm not gonna say anything if you want. But I'm a little upset they changed it, and I still want to see it. But I
think
feel
they
like
do
it
that
changes the
because-
context of the story for me.
But they got to do that so that you're not sitting there just expecting and knowing everything that's gonna happen. No,
But
you
see,
don't like
now
that?
I'm upset because that twist would have been really cool if they didn't show it.
I got you now. Okay.
I agree with you, Hav, that sometimes changing things from let's say the book to the
Right.
to the movie can have things that work dramatically, say in print, don't necessarily always work as well
Mhm.
dramatically on the screen. One prime example I would say would be A Time to Kill. You guys remember that movie with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel L.
Yeah.
Jackson?
I remember the movie, but
Great movie.
Yeah.
That's actually I'm surprised that didn't come. I love that movie, but that was also a book, and the speech that the closing argument that Matthew McConaughey's character gives, at the end of the trial, he obviously on screen it's Matthew McConaughey giving it, right, because you want it's the big speech, right? And it's the closing argument, so you want and he was the big name in the film, the big actor in the film, so you want that's the guy you want delivering that speech, right? However, in the book, he wasn't the one. It wasn't the defense lawyer that delivered that speech.
Right.
It was actually one of the jurors in the deliberating room, and that's what swayed
The
all the
votes for
rest of
everybody.
the jurors.
Right.
And to me, I wouldn't have wanted that. I wouldn't have wanted the defense if when I was reading the book. The book takes you inside of the deliberating chamber,
Right.
where the nuance of being in the deliberation chamber can be lost on a lot of people. So unless you're really into cerebral movies,
Right.
or like really thought provoking and really diving in deep to that part of it, it would have been lost on a lot of people, and people would have just been bored in the movie. Whereas like for a theatrical punch, you have him deliver it, and you know, all right, he's gonna get off
Absolutely, yeah.
now. So and that way you're not in the deliberating room. So it's something that necessarily, had they done it that way in the book, it would have been trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
But had they done it the way that they did it in the book on screen, it would have probably been trash.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you that you need to make certain dramatic
as long as
changes and take
It's-
that dramatic.
and it kind of
license.
goes into like what you were talking about with Superman and the Kryptonite thing, because I got Al's point, but I also got your point where you don't want to change things so drastically where it doesn't even remind you of the book anymore.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't want to sit there just knowing everything that's going to happen. That's not fun. That's not
Right.
something that's entertaining like that. Listen, some people may still find entertainment in it, but me personally, my opinion is I'd rather see something new, experience something new. You know. But
So wait, did we see any movies this week then that other than like going to the theaters? Did anybody see any movies?
well, I know for me, I did. I'm continuing my Avengers homework.
Okay.
And I actually have to switch what my favorite MCU movie is, because I watched Winter Soldier and I watched Civil War, and to me, Civil War is a better movie.
I told you.
Yeah.
I've been told you, bro.
Yeah.
Well,
I saw Civil War
Yours
last
was
night.
Winter Soldier or something?
What happened?
Yours was Winter Soldier?
It was Winter
Yeah.
Soldier.
Oh, wow.
His
Because
nuts.
it was so different and just completely caught me off guard, that movie. There was a lot of scenes in that movie that I love. But then I saw Winter Soldier on, I would say, either Friday or Saturday night. And then I watched Civil War last night. And when I watched Civil War, I was like, oh my God, this is great. From beginning to end, everything that's happening is just, what an awesome movie.
I just feel like Civil War is an Avengers movie under the titles of Captain America. Like,
It really is, though.
I would agree with you. I would
Yeah.
agree with you because they have so many.
it's
of them
it's
in it.
Avengers minus Thor and Hulk. Like,
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, and to be fair, the heart of the Avengers is the relationship between Tony Stark and Captain America.
Yeah.
Like that really is the heart.
But I
of
feel
what
like
the
that didn't
Avengers-
happen until the end of the movie.
Well, remember, no, even in the first Avengers movie when the team was coming together, it was always Cap and Tony at each
Yeah.
other's throat,
That's why, like, I
and
feel
the rest
like
of them were like these two again. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you see the rest of them were like, let's get this done or whatever. But the two of them kept sniping at each other, like when Tony kept saying shit, and then Cap is like, put on the suit, put on the suit,
Put on a suit.
put
Go
on the
ahead.
suit. Go ahead, put on the suit. You know what I mean? So it was always them. Like
Yeah.
they are the Avengers. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
there's no Avengers without one of them.
that's why, like,
You understand what I'm saying?
that's why I thought
like-
Civil War was like the Avengers movie under the guise of Captain America. Because I was like, oh, like the whole Tony Stark Captain America didn't happen until the end of the movie. The whole thing was basically Avengers brawl.
'Cause I feel
Yeah.
you could put any cast of superheroes around Tony Stark or Iron Man and Captain America, and you have the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like you can have like when Hulk was off doing whatever, you don't need Hulk. I would dare say Thor is pretty important as well because of
Yeah.
what he brings to the table. I figured the rest of them don't really bring it
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to the table like Captain America.
And
Iron
even
Man
watching
do.
Civil War, you don't really miss them. I mean, you would like to see Thor and Hulk or whatever, but,
But
you
you-
don't miss them because there's so much stuff going on.
Because the story
that
doesn't need
it was
them.
Just, the story didn't need them at
Yeah.
all. No,
Right.
it was a great movie. Great
the story
movie.
didn't need them.
Yeah, but those are the two things I saw. What about you guys? You guys saw anything?
I saw this week again, to take it completely
Of
off
course.
track, to go into more of my personal taste, I saw Vice, which is
Oh,
the movie
Dick Cheney
about
movie.
Dick Cheney.
Yeah, I want to see
And
that one.
before I get into the to talking about the actual movie, I will say that Christian Bale is his versatility as an actor
Oh,
is
yeah.
incredible.
He's-
He can
he's
literally play
awesome,
any
yeah.
character.
Yep.
Like anybody, like he turns into
That dedication to be
right. He
someone.
look. I mean, no, like you look at him. Like obviously there's makeup and whatnot, but it
Yeah.
doesn't look like he still looks like Christian Bale, but he looks like a dead ringer for Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
No, and he puts on the weight and
And he
everything.
puts on the
put
weight. No,
all
and
that
because
weight.
that's not a fat suit. He like actually gains the weight and loses the weight and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I will say, remember in the only knock that people had on the Batman movies was his voice, his Batman
Yeah.
voice.
Right.
He could have totally done the Dick Cheney voice for the Batman. I'm not joking.
I gotta watch it
and he
now,
would have
yeah.
been great as Batman.
Uh,
He could have totally done the Dick Cheney voice as Batman. And I'm like, if you could have done this, bro, why didn't you do that for Batman? That would have been awesome.
Give me what was it?
how was the movie though? Was it
The movie-
good?
okay, so I'll say this about the movie, right? So I went into the movie. I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about my political leanings. You guys know what my political leanings, and you guys listening can probably have figured it out by now. But you go into it, so you either expect a movie like that to be highly critical of the character that they're portraying. Well, not the character or the historical figure, the person that they're portraying, or being very, very kind to the person, right? And it was neat. If I feel like the portrayal wasn't slanted one way or the other. If a liberal sees this movie, they're going to agree with the portrayal of Dick Cheney.
Right.
If a conservative sees this movie, they're going to agree with the portrayal of Dick Cheney, and they're going to love the portrayal of
And
Dick
that's the way
Cheney
it should
because
be.
they're like, yeah,
That's the way it
that's
should
what
be.
he did.
Right.
And what? And liberals are like, see, we told you, that's what he did. Right?
Right.
So,
And
so it wasn't like they were trying to pander to conservatives or pander to liberals. Right?
They just
Anybody
made
can watch
a
this
real
movie.
movie.
And at the end, one thing that will knock me at the end, and I will give this away, at the end of the movie, they do have him he's doing an interview,
Mhm.
right? But he breaks the fourth wall, right? And they pan to him and he's talking directly to you as Dick Cheney, like Christian Bale's talking to you as Dick Cheney. So people were very critical of the Bush administration and their policies and a lot of the things that they did. But being who I am, it actually made me really think about myself.
Right.
What he said, I did exactly what you wanted me to do. And I'd do it again, and it was my honor to do it.
You kind of respect that.
Respect it or not, it really made me sit and think. They believed that they did what they were doing to keep us safe,
Right.
right? And we enjoy that safety. So some of us may actually sit here and try to tear them down, but we're also sitting here enjoying that safety. And I really thought about to myself, do I subconsciously give consent, and am I okay with what they do because I'm not the one doing it? Am I okay with letting them get their hands dirty so I can sit back here and criticize them from my safe
Safe place.
place, right?
From your house.
And I
from your
think
home.
that's why that movie was great, because it had made someone like me sit down and really sit and think to myself, am I how invested am I in them, and was I actually okay with what they were doing while it
Wow.
was happening?
That's crazy.
I like
You know
that,
what I'm saying?
man. That was
I
good.
sat and really
That's
thought
good.
to myself,
Yeah.
was I secretly okay with it?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't the
And,
one
see,
doing
and
it.
that's why I love movies,
So
man.
to me, that's why it was a great movie. It was a great
Yeah,
movie. So
man.
I suggest watching it.
Absolutely, man. Al, how about you, man? Any good movies, man?
Bumblebee.
Oh, you saw Bumblebee.
I
Okay.
only saw Bumblebee.
What'd you think?
It was good. I liked it.
Right. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
bad.
No, it definitely kept the humor and the emotion of the Bumblebee character and
Mhm.
everything.
That Haley Steinfeld.
I like the fact that it brought back the old school look of the Transformers, and you saw Optimus looking like the way we remember Optimus from the cartoons, and it brought Soundwave and all of them back into the mix.
Soundwave.
Yeah, I liked it.
That's good, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that with Brandon. We liked it, man. It was pretty good.
I gotta. Before we move on, to you speak about the look of Optimus Prime. There's nothing beats classic.
No.
I'm saying that nothing beats classic.
That G1.
That G1. However, when Optimus rolled up in the first Michael Bay movie and the way he did you not like the way he looked? Did it?
You know what? It was just good to see an old friend back. You know?
Yeah. No, but I'm saying it's like the old truck
Okay,
was
Bran Stark.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying I like. That was the one time where I liked the update to him because now he wasn't like a cab over design. He was like a badass truck. Like,
Yeah,
Like,
even the
that's
flames.
a truck that'll fuck somebody up.
Yeah, man. Even the flames, I didn't mind after I saw how it looked in the movie, man. It was good. Brandon, you saw anything, man? You saw anything good besides Game of Thrones?
So I didn't, but I'm gonna watch this tonight. It caught my interest because of who's starring in it.
Okay.
On Netflix right now, there is a movie called Unicorn Store.
Oh God.
And Unicorn Store is currently starring, and this has just came out, starring Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson. After they just came off Captain Marvel.
Really?
And they're doing Unicorn Store, which I was watching the trailer and I'm cracking up
What's it
because
about?
I believe like Brie Larson is playing like a girl that's down on her luck kind of a thing.
Okay.
And Samuel L. Jackson is the owner of this unicorn store, and he's selling this unicorn to her, and she goes on this, it looks like she's going on this quest to build a home for this unicorn, and she's like quitting her job and all this because she's gonna get a unicorn. Whether this is metaphorical or not, I believe it is.
It's totally
It's
metaphorical.
completely metaphorical, but like it's so funny because it keeps showing scenes between them, and he's just like, you get this unicorn, like it's like Samuel L. Jackson after we just saw Captain Marvel, and it's just like,
Just be
what?
very patient when you watched it because I tried to start it.
oh god,
Like I started watching it
Yeah,
last
yeah.
night, and
like just because I
So
saw
what
it.
you're saying is that there's a payoff, but you got to be patient.
I'm hoping so. I couldn't
stopped.
finish it. I stopped.
Like I had to
just
look
turned
on
it
the
off.
date for it because I was just like, when did this come out? And it was like 2019. I'm like, that's like now. Like this is after, during Captain
You
Marvel.
know
Like,
what's a good one to watch if you guys have, I don't know if anybody has the Amazon, that Guava Island.
I want to. I saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, anything with Rihanna in it, bro.
It's mostly
Rihanna looking a little sweaty.
it's mostly Childish Gambino.
You know what I'm saying?
a little
I'm
misty out.
Childish Gambino,
Yeah,
right?
it's mostly him.
Yeah.
But it's a good movie, and it's don't go expecting obviously anything great,
I get to look
But-
at Rihanna for a little
but you
bit.
get to hear their music, mostly his. And, But it's a good movie.
It's entertaining. It's
Rihanna,
time.
I think your music is better, Rihanna. I love you.
When you all misty on Guava Island.
I'm from the West Indies too.
Oh man. So now that we caught up with everybody, man, the movies we watched this week, just gonna try to get into some of the latest news from this past week. I don't know if you guys heard, Transformers 6 got greenlit, but no more Michael Bay. Michael Bay said he's done with
It's
Transformers.
about time. You knew it was happening.
I don't know, man. You can't knock
So-
the guy for bringing that franchise back.
Less
But,
explosions,
you know.
more story. Yay!
You know, I look, I would say the last 3, maybe even the last 4 Transformers.
I don't
Yeah.
know what happened in the
Dude,
last movie.
The
I
Last
just
Jedi.
knew there
No,
was
not the Last
things.
Jedi.
The last Jedi.
The Last
Whoa!
Night. Was it the last? What is
That
it?
was the last night.
Last night, right? Okay.
It was like
Yeah.
there was just Transformers, and then all of a sudden they were in
and
the
they had-
sky. They were
and
on
they
the
had
ground,
swords,
There's
like,
this,
they
there's
were-
swords.
I
there's
think-
knights.
There's good story there, but it's not completely fleshed out.
Right.
That's the
yeah.
problem with the Transformer movies. There really is good story there. There's good backstory that could be had.
Mhm.
Um,
It's not put together
it's
well.
just
though.
not put together right. Like, okay, so now Optimus Prime is now some sort of knight. Of what? I'm okay with the concept.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like you gave him the sword.
So now you're making him an Arthurian character, right? So he pulls the sword from. Did y'all get that? Like
Yeah,
when you,
Of
yeah,
course.
okay.
Yeah. King Arthur.
So now, yeah, it's right there.
Al, you cool with Michael Bay not being in these Transformers movies? Well, not being in, but like
Not
having a
directly.
part to make them.
It'll be interesting only because, like Sanjay said, more story.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of more story there. Like they've always alluded to certain things, like they kept calling each other brother. So what was that story? Like what before all this war started off, what were they doing together? Because if Optimus was a Prime and they made a big deal about him being a Prime and what that meant and the power, then why does he keep calling Megatron a brother? Like, was he also a Prime of some kind? Or so, like, not knowing the backstory like that,
Right.
it would have been interesting to see that
I would
brought out
just
on
love
the
to
movie.
tell you guys all the stories.
Yeah.
That's
So-
not for this venue. I mean,
Oh man. And
So it would have
Brandon-
been great.
but
so,
Al,
yeah.
Al brings up some very good points.
I mean, Al just said the word "the power," and the whole thing was like, "You got the touch." It literally popped in my head. I just like smiled, like, "There it is, there it is."
you can't help yourself when you hear
But
that
wait,
stuff.
am I the only one that thinks the best Transformer movie was the cartoon one?
No, it is.
It
That
is.
is
With
best
Unicron?
Transformer.
Yeah.
It is.
When they're fighting and Optimus says enough or something, he just transforms
Just
back into
whoever
the truck
made
and
that
runs
movie
over
is
everybody. Oh.
effing insane for killing off
They killed off Optimus
Prime in the
Ultra
first 15
Magnus.
minutes.
Ultra Magnus.
Spoiler
bit the
alert,
bullet.
by the way, but it's like the movie's from 1980.
It was the one time in the entire series someone got hit with the laser beam. The one
Yes,
time.
the one time.
The one time someone got hit.
and it was just like a random hit, and
Yeah.
Optimus is dead from it. Like, really?
Maybe shoot each other for 5
5
years.
years.
Like, come on. The one time.
Dude, if
No,
you really
but-
think about it, the cartoons we used to watch, G.I. Joe, they just shooting lasers at each other, and no one's hitting nobody. Nobody died. Nobody's.
We got them pinned down. You sure?
No, but
Oh, man.
Hasbro, the reason that they killed Optimus Prime because they thought it would sell by bringing in a new leader, they would sell more toys.
Rodimus.
Bad idea. Wrong.
Wrong.
I just remember.
Everyone hated Rodimus Prime so
He was bratty.
much.
what was that cartoon? Like, I'm sorry, Optimus Prime. Here's the Matrix back.
Yeah. So no, I mean, and
Those were the writers.
Yeah, it got so bad. When people were writing in and stuff. That it got so bad they had to bring back
Yeah,
Optimus
you
Prime.
can't do that, man.
What was it? They killed off Optimus Prime, and then halfway through the movie, Hot Rod gets to whatever planet Ultra Magnus is on. They're like, Ultra Magnus, you gotta take the Matrix of leadership, and he's like, all right, and then gets blown up.
No, actually, so what happened in that movie was that Optimus dies. They take him to the planet to bury him, where they bury the Autobots or the Autobot leaders or whatever. And since Ultra Magnus is second in command, he takes the Matrix. They pass the Matrix to him, but he's not supposed to be the one carrying the Matrix. And then they go to Junkion, right? The junk planet. And then there, the they basically, the inhabitants disassemble him. And he like, because Optimus told him in our darkest hour, the Matrix will light the way. And Ultra Magnus is about to get taken out. And he's like, I don't see any hour darker than this. Matrix did nothing for him. Nothing.
Wrong.
And it wasn't until the end of the movie where they need to take out Unicron and Rodimus Prime, Hot Rod. He was still Hot Rod at that time. Was inside Unicron, right? And he couldn't figure out how to beat Unicron, and then because he was carrying the Matrix at that point. And then
got the touch.
yes, that's what happened. And then Rodimus, Hot Rod, the Matrix activates, right? And you got the touch. And it plays. But then you hear. So he holds up the Matrix, and you hear in the background, "Rise, Rodimus Prime." And it's Optimus Prime's voice coming from the Matrix, telling him to rise, and he changes form and everything, and becomes
He got like
Rodimus
an installer.
Prime.
He got like a whole
Like,
installer.
We
He
gotta
got
call
nothing.
this down. I feel like my car is getting
He was
turned
the
on right
shortest transformer. He got an inch.
now. My car's like, woo. Transformers.
You know what's funny? Rodimus Prime grew in height, and then when Optimus came back, Optimus could still look down at him.
Oh my god.
Oh, we hate
man.
Rodimus.
Wait, he went from he went from yellow to dark orange, right? Or was he always orange?
He was always.
He always
Oh,
had like
orange.
little highlights of
I always
orange.
forget what between
Yeah.
Bumblebee and him because there was like
Yeah.
a whole thing that didn't happen so much.
Oh my
and,
god.
and we all thought it was so interesting, Brandon and Hob, that your middle brother,
Uh-huh.
he loved Rodimus
Yeah,
Prime.
he did. That was his character, man.
That explained so much. He doesn't listen to us, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, man.
No, he subscribed.
He
He
subscribed?
subscribed.
Oh,
as of
yeah.
Yo,
yesterday.
Eric, you my boy, B. Don't worry about it. I'm giving you hell right now, but you my boy, son. It's okay that you liked Rodimus. It's okay.
Oh my god. And then the other movie news I heard this week was Space Jam 2.
Nobody
Oh,
wants
God.
to play with LeBron, even in the movies.
They're like, so we got this sneaker deal. You ain't got no sneaker deal. Like you don't care.
he
Adidas
can't-
don't care.
Apparently, you can't get other NBA players to play with him because of either the sneaker deal or they don't want to get dunked on.
You want me to get dunked on in a movie by Bugs Bunny? Like, get out of
and,
here.
and you know what's funny? I'm looking at the notes for the movies news this week, and it's so funny because with the topic of this week of reviving franchises, this is one that I'm like, listen, LeBron could come up with another. He doesn't do Space Jam. That's Mike. That's Mike's movie with Bugs Bunny.
And they already did like Mike,
Well,
you know.
I'll counter that.
Go for it.
I'll say that if LeBron did some sort of basketball movie
Right.
with a cartoon or whatever, they'll just be like, "This is some like knockoff Space Jam." So just do a Space Jam. Really. I mean, people, because that's exactly what happened. People would have said, "This is knockoff Space Jam," right?
Yeah.
So all right, they're bringing back Space Jam, but they could have added to the story instead of it being like a remake or something like that. Like,
Remember,
you know
it was
what I'm saying?
if you heard, it was supposed to be with Tony Hawk. They were supposed to make a skate jam.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so
Yeah.
again, that's a nice twist
Right.
to it. You know what I'm saying? Like add to it.
I
But
don't
apparently
know.
nobody wants to hang out with LeBron, son.
Al, how come no one gave Patrick Ewing a Space Jam?
Oh Jesus!
Because Scottie Pippen space jammed on him.
In the movie, Patrick Ewing goes for a layup instead of a dunk, and Pippen blocks it.
finger rolls it.
Oh man, I love my Knicks, man. Oh, damn, they suck.
Scotty, if you out there listening, we are still talking about that dunk where you put Ewing on his back, son.
Unnecessary.
Pat was so mad.
Oh,
Pat
man.
was so mad.
And then what else we got there? Terminator: Dark Fate. It's another Terminator coming back. I don't know if you guys are into that franchise. I know me and
Yeah.
Son saw Terminator. Wasn't it?
was
It's supposed to be Genesis, but
Genesis.
everybody kept saying Genesis
Genesis.
because it was spelt weird, I guess.
Yo,
Oh,
because
no.
it was spelled with a
A
Y.
Y.
Yeah,
Genesis.
Genesis.
I actually like that one.
Yeah, it wasn't. Listen, I get where some of the complaints came, but actually, I liked Terminator 3. Listen, Terminator 1 and 2, of course, everyone loves, right?
Yes.
But Terminator 3, people hated it. I kind of liked it. I enjoyed that one with the girl Terminator.
I liked when Skynet actually became aware. That was
Uh-huh.
cool. when that
Then it was
happened.
Terminator Salvation with
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, and the surprise with Arnold Schwarzenegger actually being in the movie. I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Terminator Genesis, right? That-
Genesis.
Genesis. So they're making another one, but this time they're bringing back everybody from part 2. Apparently, Linda Hamilton, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's being written by the guy who did Deadpool.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm interested in seeing what they do with that.
I can see that. I
But
can
it's
see it.
more a focus on her, though, right? I think isn't it a focus
That
on her?
I think they're going to try to put the focus back on her, but she's definitely part of the story, like the main part of the story. So
Well,
they're
she
trying to bring it
was
back.
like the biggest thing with T2, really.
Mm-hmm. That T2 is a great man. T2 is a great movie. What else? Let's see. Shazam 2 got greenlit already after
wow.
2 weeks or 1 week.
It was
in
like the
theater.
next day we saw it. It was like greenlit.
Yeah, and I'm like, damn, all right,
They just wait to see how it does at
yeah, it's box office. That's
box
it.
office. And
That's
right.
all.
go
It tells
see
you
it.
everything you need to know once you see how many people buying it.
Yeah.
And what else came out? Let's see. Lion King. I'm not ready to hurt again, guys. I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready to see that in
It
live
was
action.
interesting because the trailer it gave us that what was that movie that came out with Blue the other Forest movie, Jungle Book, sorry.
Uh-huh.
The Jungle Book, you know, I was waiting to see how they would separate it from the Jungle Book in terms of look and stuff. Even though it was a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, you know,
Are you talking about Mowgli? The Mowgli?
not
No,
Mowgli,
that's
that's the
Jungle.
second one. They made a second one. Jungle Book that came out like 3 years ago. I wanted to see what they would do with making these live quote unquote animals, you know, making them talk and sing. And in the trailer, I was just like, they're not moving as much, you know, like their faces aren't moving. So like, I don't know if they're actually talking. Like I just see voices coming out. But I mean, how can you make quote unquote live animals speak and emote? You know,
Yeah, I mean
Scar-
they're doing their best. To
I
make
like
it,
Chad. Chad Ewafor, right? That's his name.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Should we tell OGO4?
I don't know why I give him Chad. He became a white
Just
man
Chad.
overnight. Chad.
Good job, guys.
Oh man,
But I was like, I actually really like him as Scar.
yeah.
I want to see. I mean, he's not Jeremy Irons, obviously, but like, you know, I'm interested in seeing because I like the way he acts. I like how he portrays himself. So I
Gotcha.
feel him giving a good performance in that role.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know if I'm gonna exactly see it because again, it's one of these things where it's like you're just doing the movie all over again, except live action. There's nothing wrong with the animated one. The animated one is a classic.
Well, I think what it is, and Reality was telling me this, there's actually, it's in Disney's contract that from Walt Disney that they have to remake the movies every 10 years.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Or so even if they just reissue the movies or whatever,
Right.
all the movies have to be redone every
Is
10
that
years.
why they do that stupid vault thing where
Yes.
they
It's-
take the movie out of like circulation for a
Yes.
couple years?
Yes.
Oh my god,
Listen, love him or hate him as a corporation or whatever,
Mickey's evil.
Disney, you can't argue with Disney's marketing.
Yeah.
Nah,
They
man.
understand marketing
They know what they're doing, man.
so well.
Oh yes.
Listen, I look, I'm still iffy. If my kids were a little bit older, I'd definitely take them to go see it. And but
And let them hurt like that?
Mhm.
You want them to hurt like that?
they need to learn about life somehow.
You know, the hurt is offset by the
By a
the glory.
Hakuna Matata?
No, at the end when Simba, remember when he's growing up and he takes that when he takes out Scar.
Oh, spoiler alert. I'm kidding.
Right?
Spoiler alert
Come
for
on.
Lion King. I love it.
No, you remember that
Movie ain't come out yet.
that slow walk up Pride Rock to
Yeah, in the rain.
da, da, da. Like when the music is playing.
They
and
even
everything,
show it in the trailer. It's in the trailer.
Oh man.
and then when he roars and everything, you're
Yeah.
like, yes, yes,
Oh
they're
man.
so brilliant.
Then in last thing I have here is big deal for a lot of us, man. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. That trailer
That's a
came out
title.
on Friday. Listen, after The Last Jedi, I felt like this trailer really needed to show me something crazy and good. And I get it's just a teaser trailer, so there'll probably be a better trailer down the road. But
What
listen, I thought it was okay. It was
what if they're
okay
endgaming
trailer.
you?
What do you mean endgame?
What if they're not showing you anything in the trailer?
I hope so.
Well, I hope so, because they didn't show me anything in the damn trailer.
I heard Palpatine laughing in the trailer.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. But they're
Yeah.
gonna have to explain that. I thought Palpatine fell off a thing and got incinerated. No,
No, he
that's
got force lightning.
fourth.
No, but then Darth Vader
Oh,
picked
he
him
picked
up
him
and
up
threw
and
him
hold
down.
Threw him, right?
He did
And
that
then
whole
you
thing.
see
Oh, wait, guys, one more time. Spoiler alert
Spoiler
for Star
alert!
Wars.
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
Yeah, 30 years, but it's
The
fine.
end of the Return of the Jedi.
But yeah, go for it.
I don't know. In terms of like, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I have like literally all of them at home on Blu-ray
Right.
and everything. Last Jedi kind of derailed everything for me.
It did.
Only because Ryan Johnson, I understand his logic, and I think we even discussed this the other day. I understand he wants to make a whole thing of, oh, it's not just Luke Skywalker. There's other Jedi. You know, anyone can be a Jedi. Anybody has that ability. Fine. You already got greenlit for your own trilogy. Make that what your trilogy is about. This whole Star Wars arc was about the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
You and then got, you know, unfortunately you had what's her name die, so
Carrie
Leia
Fisher.
Carrie Fisher passes away, so now you can't make it her Skywalker carrying it. So it's got to be about Luke. It was always about Luke.
Right.
It was about how his father came into be, his father giving him, and then the whole thing of who was the one. Was it really Anakin, or was it that he brought Luke around to be?
The balance.
And that's it. And that's how the balance was brought.
Right.
So now Luke is the main guy. How do you bring them back? How do you have Force Awakens be all about finding Luke? And Luke's now not even in the
the
story.
mix
For the
at
next
all.
movie of him being
Like-
there to die.
So yeah, so I understand I understand what you're trying to do, but you can't. How do you kill the character
Yeah,
off?
listen, I get subverting expectations versus just making something
Yeah.
stupid. All right.
No, and then to have this title be The Rise of Skywalker,
Now, yeah.
and this is where we were going. If this is not him making her Luke's son, then who's the rise of? Because Luke's
You mean Luke's daughter?
Luke's daughter. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rey now has to be his daughter.
Well,
Because
they keep
she
saying either
can't
Rey
be-
or Ben Solo,
But that's the thing.
he's
She-
Solo, right?
But she can't be
He's still a
Leia's
Skywalker.
daughter.
Right, he gets part Skywalker.
The same way Yara Jimenez.
True.
Yeah,
Right?
but see that's but would you be called that, or would
No.
you be called an Andrade? Like that's like
It-
in most customs.
what you're called is doesn't change half of who you are.
Correct, but why would you be called a Skywalker if she's the son of Solo?
Because he's still the son of a Skywalker.
He picked up the mask.
Wait, she
Leia-
or he?
No, like okay. So if we're talking about Ben, right?
Yeah.
Ben is a Skywalker because his mother is a Skywalker. It doesn't matter that his last name
technically,
is
she's
Solo.
Organa.
Well,
She's
No,
Leia
that was her
Organa.
adopted.
that was
She was
her-
adopted,
Yeah, that was adopted.
bro.
name,
Come
yeah.
on.
That was her
I'm
adopted
just
name.
saying.
Yeah.
But see, to me, I don't know. I can't.
Is she Padme's daughter?
I don't know. I don't know.
It gets crazy because you know what I heard. I keep hearing that they're possibly taking the Jedi out of it because that was allegedly the last Jedi because the Jedi needed
So-
to
But
end.
no,
So
No,
but
now
it's
they're going
that
to call
she's the
themselves the
last Jedi.
Skywalkers, the people who have abilities or who have
See, yeah, but
are in
that's
touch
where
with
they
the
kill me.
Force.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
So now we're gonna refer to those people as the Skywalkers.
All right. So before we get too deep into that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually want to take this discussion in a little bit different direction regarding Star Wars, right? If it's okay with you guys. So it seems to me that you like the way you feel about Star Wars, like you have a very deep emotional connection to Star Wars. So I want to hear from you. What is it about Star Wars?
no, it's just for that. I mean, it sounds silly. It's just like the balance of like. I tend to be pretty black and white in the way I look at things. I mean, I acknowledge there's the gray. Sometimes I have to live in the gray, but I tend to like to see things black or white, right? And that's what Star Wars for me was a lot about: the
Right.
dark side, the light side. You know, most of the. I mean, they went overboard with the prequels, but you had, you know, the people that were good being good. They didn't do bad, like, you know. Whereas a lot of times nowadays you see the bad guys doing bad, the good guys doing bad.
Right.
And they do it to justify being good. Like they got to do the bad in order to get the good.
Right.
The
Rogue
means.
One did that.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah.
So I understand that, but it's that sense of almost, and I guess it's along the lines of why I like Superman. Like they make him ultra. He's
Good,
okay.
yeah.
He's, you know, upright, goody two shoes, and all that stuff, so to speak. But that was like my thing with Star Wars. Like it took you to a sci-fi world, and it said, okay, here's the way everybody is, but on both ends you have, you know, you have the dark side, you have the light side, and then you have everybody in between. So everybody that wasn't like a Jedi or not a Sith, okay, you know, they're in this world of the battle between good and bad.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of like where you know, there was always something for somebody to find themselves in. Either you identified, you know, with the light side, the dark side, or were you a rebel and didn't care about any of it, and then you identified with Han. Like, you know, so there was always somebody there
Yeah.
for you
I know
to
for
identify.
me with Star Wars, I always just like just how different it was from everything. Because here we are with space battles with lasers, but yet our heroes got swords.
Yeah.
You know, and then the villains have the red swords. And there was something cool about Darth Vader, even though to me he was scary when I was younger, but there was just something cool about him. The Luke, Han Solo, Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2 crew. You just grow to love them and their individual characters, the way that they portray themselves and how they handle themselves. Like C-3PO is always a coward, but he always ends up with R2-D2 finding a way to save the battle. You know, and then just a lot of cool scenes, things I've never seen before. When I go to the movies, I want to see things that I don't see in the normal. I don't want to see people arguing for just arguing's sake. I don't want to see people get into a car accident because I can see that outside. But if I can see a spaceship, okay,
I mean-
are we going to argue between at or
I mean, but do you
AT-AT?
want to go to the movies and see like a mother and father get gunned down in front of their child?
No.
Is
Wait,
that
wait,
Batman?
what?
As Batman, dude.
Wait, we talking about Batman?
I'm like, I'm like, did Luke see some shit?
What Was that
No,
Force
no,
Awakens?
no, but-
and then there's like they tell 30 years of his life about him dealing with the trauma of listening.
Yeah, but the Star Wars like is so cool to me. Like Star Trek, I like it too because it's something different. It's something that is just something that I'll never experience. Space, seeing what's out there. We're not alone. There's more to this world than just that. So I don't know. What happened, Brandon?
Such you cracked me up just now.
What?
Because I just pictured in my head Batman Begins and it's just Bruce. The whole story is him growing up. At the end of the movie, he's like, I think I'm gonna become Batman. And that's how the movie
Actually,
ends.
they did that. It's called Gotham.
Right? We get 7 seasons.
Yeah,
of
seven-
this
I just
nonsense.
ran through
Seven
a whole
seasons,
movie in
he's
my
like-
head.
I'll become Batman.
I played it all in my head just now.
Oh my god, man! But yeah,
I'm just hoping they give a story arc.
yeah. And
Because
listen, in Bob,
the original movies, there was a story arc. You
Yeah.
had Harrison Ford's, Han Solo starts off not giving a crap. He literally was the guy who shot first in the bar in the beginning of the movie.
no matter
Star
what
Wars.
they try to say,
Then, but yet at the end, he's
He's
you
the
know
hero.
he's a hero. Not
Right,
so
right.
there's that big arc. Luke Skywalker starts off as a naive farm boy, but now he becomes this soldier, Jedi Knight, character.
Jesus.
yeah.
They don't have that anymore. Like even in these, Force Awakens.
They tried hard
Ray-
to like make Ray that character,
But that's
it
what I'm
just
saying.
doesn't
To
work.
the point where there's no progression with her. Once she found out she had powers, she was doing all of it. She could fight at the level of Ben. She was doing mind tricks on people with no training. Like she
Yeah.
had, like even with Luke Skywalker, he needed 3 movies of training to
become
get
what
to
he
where
became.
he was. Yeah.
And
even
Yoda,
with that,
and
he
Yoda
needed
literally
that.
riding him.
Yeah. Whereas with her, she's doing it from the first movie and
It's like
doing
she touched the lightsaber.
yeah. She only had one session with Luke, and what was it for a couple days?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's taught her 1,000 years worth of knowledge. That's now what he says to her in the preview. So it's like, and that's why I don't
It was
blame
rushed.
one movie, but Ryan Johnson did that because he needed to now switch everything onto her to carry the weight of the trilogy,
But
and
there
that
wasn't-
was where
but
they
there
messed
wasn't
up with
anything
me.
original about these next 3 movies. At least the prequels, as much as people pan them,
There's a story.
it added to the story. Like it added Anakin to Darth Vader. You really get to see how this happens, why this happens, and it's actually plausible of why it happens. It's just a love story.
It
It's
is,
just
but he
sit
just
very-
it was a love story with terrible writing and terrible acting.
No, but you could see the concept.
It was very rough, but it was
no.
there.
It was very.
Yeah.
It was not terribly well executed.
I hate
But it was still a good concept.
Wait, what happened?
I hate sand.
Dude, that was so bad. But how about the creepy,
And she was like, oh.
creepy Anakin, who was just like, I can't stop thinking about you,
Like, yo, you were 11 when we met. I was like 18. Like, come on.
dude. It was so terrible, man.
And she was like, I've been thinking about you too.
Let's put this in context, right?
I get arrested for that.
Jason Momoa is married to Lisa Bonet. Jason Momoa fell in love with Lisa
watching her
Bonet
on
when he was
TV.
8. Watching, and put it out there, me and Jason Momoa are like the same age, and my wife kind of looks like Lisa Bonet.
All right.
All right, so
There
me,
you go.
so all right,
Oh man.
okay,
So listen, man,
Yeah.
these movies, everything we've talked about, it was just like things that were happening last week. But again, it all kind of plays into what I wanted to talk about today with movies, was this reviving of franchises rather than starting up new franchises, and like this trend of them just kind of just always going back to what they've done to now bring it with a new spin, a new twist. And I just wanted to see what you guys thought. Like, what's your take on that? Like that trend of just doing that instead of coming up with a brand new idea. Like when Avatar came out, look at how big Avatar is. Avatar is what, the second or the first? Because I think Titanic's one, right?
Oh, and
Titanic was number 1 at its time.
I think Avatar took it over. No?
yeah,
Avatar's number 1 now.
I think so.
Oh, okay. So look, even that Avatar number 1.
it's number 1 for like
Gross
a couple
rated movie.
weeks. In a couple weeks, it ain't gonna be number 1 no more.
You think Endgame's gonna catch it?
Endgame is gonna catch it, baby.
But
It's like
no,
the
but
most
seriously
anticipated
though,
movie ever.
that was a brand new concept idea. Granted, the story wasn't, but the idea of the Na'vi and the way everything looked, it was a different take, a different person's perspective on things, and it's just a whole new set of characters you've never seen before. And look at how great it did. Now everything is Lion King, Hellboy, Pet Sematary, Transformers 6, Space Jam 2. You know, it's Terminator, Lion King, Star Wars again. I'm about to say Shazam.
It was the Shazam.
You know, it's just like, can we get something we haven't seen before? Or are you guys cool with that? Like,
No, I'm not cool. I'm not cool with it. And I'll tell you flat. But what you're talking about, see, there is a lot of new stuff out there. A lot of new concepts. A lot of that stuff. It's just not mainstream. It's not going to be in your theater. You're going to have to hunt for it. Like, you're going to have to
Gotcha.
go to Sundance Movie Festival and all these little movie festivals that are out there, and really to find it. And you're going to have to dig through a lot of artsy stuff that the only person that really gets it is the director who
gotcha.
actually directed the movie, because it's just so far out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that it's not good or not that it's not a good story. It's just like it just doesn't have any mass appeal. It's like pop music, right? The stuff that's in the theaters is the pop music
Right.
of movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna find your Chance the Rapper type movie, you know, the equivalent
Right.
at the big theater.
Something good but different.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find that kind of stuff at the theater very often. Reason why something like Black Panther worked, right? Because it was literally something different only in the sense that, yeah, we're gonna make a movie that, like, yeah, where black people are featured
Right.
as the good guys.
And that was
You know what I mean?
So
Like-
like oh wow, they're really going for that. And,
No,
and
but
look
and-
at how great it
But
did.
it just shows you when you get little tastes of going against the mainstream, right?
Right.
And you can see it when it's given the money, when it's given the development that it deserves, and
Absolutely.
the right backing. You see how great we can come out with some great works of art,
Absolutely,
right?
man.
So there's new stuff out there. In a sense, I don't like retelling stories. I don't like going over and over again. For the most part, I would, but let's say with like things like Transformers, things that have cemented themselves in the culture, aren't going away. Superman's not going away.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Batman's not going away. And things like that. And what Marvel did, they tried to cement their universe into the culture, to say it's not. They wanted it to be one of those things that doesn't go away.
But don't you find that that's the reason why Marvel's so successful right now? Because we never really got an Iron Man movie
Right,
before. We never
exactly.
had Captain America
Right.
like that before.
Because they're giving you original content.
Mm-hmm.
And then where their content is lacking, or they don't have source material or whatever, they're just giving you new stuff.
Right.
So yeah, we're going back to Iron Man, we're going back to Thor, we're going back to these characters,
Yeah.
but we're not going backwards to them. We're going back to them for new story, right?
Right.
So I don't mind that, but I don't like just recycling and rebooting. So now we're gonna reboot Hellboy, and,
Right.
And I'm like, they told the story well. So if you're gonna go back to it, expand the story, expand the universe,
Do
right?
something more.
And this is one of the things I felt like Star Wars was doing. They were adding to it, but they weren't expanding the universe. They were just trying to recycle old stuff with new faces.
Right. Like
know what
how
I'm saying?
big is space that everyone still knows each other?
Well, they also that's solved
Yeah.
with the.
I mean, I get it
It
because
doesn't.
it's part of the
okay,
story,
so
but
our
yeah.
world was a big place, right?
Mhm.
Now, until jet travel, right? Now you can be anywhere in the world in a few hours,
Yeah.
right? Basically, and that's once you can afford it, right? But it shrank the world. How we travel shrank the world.
Internet shrank the
Internet shrank the world. We can literally talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime,
world. Mm-hmm.
right now. Like, and face to face,
Yeah.
Yeah.
contact. So you figured space is a big place.
Yeah.
It's a very big place. But if you can travel fast enough, it's not that big, because it's a matter of how quickly can we get to each other,
Right.
right? Distance is a function of measurement, but you can either measure it in distance, or you can measure it in time. And when the time to bridge that distance is less, I can see it doesn't bother me that they can, everyone in space can know each other because they can communicate.
I don't know, Brandon. What do you think, man? Like one of my examples of repeating something is Dark Phoenix. Did we not have X-Men: The Last Stand? Granted, it sucked.
Yeah, I
Do we
mean,
need to see that again?
But they didn't.
That-
I'm sorry.
No,
ahead,
go.
Brandon.
I think, to be honest, if you're gonna do it again in terms of not just Dark Phoenix, but like even things like Spider-Man,
Yeah,
you know,
that
if
was
you're
my
gonna
next example.
if you're
yeah.
gonna do it again, then make sure you do it right.
yeah,
You know, make sure
Thank
you
you.
give it the story that it needs. Like, don't just say, I'm going to make Spider-Man because we need a new Spider-Man right now. And so we're going to do this with this guy, Andrew Garfield. We're going to do this movie. But you didn't give it the story it deserved. Like, I don't care if you do another Spider-Man 5 years from Tobey Maguire. But if you make the story and you know, because the director had said they had all these issues with this and that and production, blah, blah, blah. If you know that story is not going to be a great story, don't do it.
Yeah,
because
why
that
bother?
script is the first thing you make. The script is the first thing you make, and then you go into the production of the movies and this and that, and then you get the actors. If you know that the first thing you did is trash,
right.
don't continue it because you're just going to slander the name.
Exactly, man.
You know, because then now everyone hates Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, but it's not his fault. It was the director's fault. Everyone hated the take on Green Goblin in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but that wasn't his fault.
right.
That was the director's
that was
because
the
that
part that he
script
played, right.
came out immediately after Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Right.
That was the part he played. That was the part he was supposed to play. So if you're going to do these characters, if you're going to make these worlds again, if you're going to tell these stories, then make sure the story is worth it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, with this, like, another example of this is Disney now. I get what Sanjay's saying that they have this deal where they have to make these movies every 10 years. But are you wanting to see Lion King again, even though you know what's going to happen? Look, they did Cinderella. Now they're doing Aladdin also. It's basically a retelling of the same story, just live action.
Yeah.
So there's a small difference, but is that an important thing for you? Like, what do you think about these, like, franchises like that?
I agree. Like, if you're gonna do it, make sure the story is right. I mean, because otherwise, what's the point?
Right.
Like, just remaster the original one. Because if the story was already done well, and you just want to make it look, you want to do it better because now we have better graphics, then just add those graphics to the original movie. Kind of
Right.
like what George Lucas did with Star Wars.
Mhm.
Instead of rebooting and remaking the original trilogy, he just says, you know what? I'm going to bring up the graphics to what we can do now.
Right.
And that's what he did. He added the CGI to and replaced the old CGI so that it looked better.
Right. He didn't
the
name a
story
new
was the
Star Wars.
Yeah. So it's like, do something like that and then re-release it as like the 20th anniversary version or whatever. Or, you know, there's something. But to redo it and add actors and this and that and add your flair on it by changing a little bit of the origin story or whatever,
Yeah.
to me, it's not worth it. I mean, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
Part of the problem with a lot of these intellectual properties is that the person who thought it up or brought it to life doesn't want to let it go, and they want to be involved in it. I'll take, for example, Star Trek,
Right.
created by Gene Roddenberry, right? The original series actually didn't do that well. It wasn't until it was in syndication that it got a cult following, that it really started to take off. And then over 10 years after it was off the air, that's when they got greenlit for a movie.
Yeah, 'cause didn't the original only get like 3 seasons?
3 seasons.
Yeah.
Because it didn't have good ratings, right? Honestly, I think it was a show that was ahead of its time. Like, people just couldn't wrap their head around it.
Yeah.
Right.
But so then, great. So that does well, and then they go on to have movies, and they're doing really well. So then they come up with this idea. Let's go 80 years into the future with a new crew, a new enterprise, a new everything, right? Gene Roddenberry. To be fair, Star Trek The Next Generation was not that good in the first 2 seasons. You know when it started getting good? When they kicked Gene Roddenberry out. And then it started getting good.
Right.
Because he had his way of telling the story. This was the 60s where, you know, when he was telling stories in that time, right? It still had the look. It still had the feel. It was different faces, different places, new sets, new technology, but it still had the feel of Gene Roddenberry's storytelling, right?
Right.
How he wanted the story told. So then they said, this ain't working. Let's kick him out. And then The Next Generation really took off. And the Next Generation was actually responsible for spawning the whole Star Trek universe, spinning off into another 3-4 shows, like 8 more movies,
Yeah.
and things like that. And that came off the Next Generation. But even me, like looking back on it, like yeah, this sucked.
So now, when they took that show and they made the Star Trek movies, what do you think of the movies?
The movies, it runs the full. There's the full gamut. There's a full spectrum of movies. There are movies that are great, that are epic.
Right.
Like, you talk about Luke, I am your father. That type of scene. The scene at the end of Star Trek 2. Spoiler alert: Spock dies. Spoiler alert for Star Trek 3. He comes back. The scene at the end of Star Trek 2 where Spock's dying and they're looking at each other, like Kirk and Spock are looking at each other through the glass because they can't touch each other because Spock basically irradiated himself to save the ship and the crew and the galaxy, right? Is a very touching scene between the two of them where Spock is dying. The only way to save the ship was to sacrifice himself. And the final words he says to Kirk is, "I have been and always shall be your friend." And then he dies.
Right. That's the original Star Trek.
That's the original
Star Trek
Trek.
movies,
Yeah,
right?
those are the original
But
Star Trek
weren't
movies.
those
That
like
happened in-
connected to the show? It
Yeah.
wasn't
Well,
like
no,
a separate movie.
the show ended.
Right.
Then 11 years later, 12 years later, they started making movies with that same cast. And they
Right.
had 6 movies. Around Star Trek 4, that's when The Next Generation came on TV,
Right.
right? That's around when they started up. And then Star Trek, the original cast of Star Trek, they ended their movies at Star Trek 6,
Yeah.
which was a very good Star Trek.
What about 5?
I don't know what you're talking about. There's Star Trek 4 and then there's Star Trek 6. What was it? Something like 200 episodes or something like that. And then they had 4 movies. And then J.J. Abrams' Abominations.
Well, that's what I was
started
gonna say. Like, that's what I'm trying to bring it to is those movies. Did you need those J.J. Abrams movies of Star
I
Trek?
needed more Star Trek, but I didn't need the J.J. Abrams Star Trek because J.J. Abrams' version of Star Trek, it's unfair to me. I always call it, anytime I say it, I say J.J. Abrams. I qualify it with J.J.
Yeah.
Abrams, right? So he gets the full brunt of the blame. He shouldn't get the full brunt of the blame because he's the director.
Right.
He didn't write the script,
Right.
right? Alex Kurtzman and I think somebody else wrote
Orsi.
Robert Orsi. Alex
Yeah.
Kurtzman and Robert Orsi. They wrote those scripts.
Yeah.
But I didn't need those movies.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Because all they did in those Star Trek movies what they're doing with 7, 8, and 9. What J.J. Abrams did, what those movies did, in the first movie, Kirk goes from being a third-year cadet, and the academy is 4 years. He goes from being a third-year cadet at the beginning of the movie, and at the end of the movie, he's the captain. It takes like 20 years to become a captain. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is
Yeah.
a starship. It's not a boat going out of Freeport.
Yeah.
Junior year, like.
You know, you know what I'm saying?
So there were things you didn't like about the movie because it didn't.
It's forced. Everything was
Yeah.
just forced together, and by the end of
For
it,
the narrative.
right? And at the end of it, they're a unit.
Yeah, you know what I didn't like about the Star Trek thing? Because 1 and 3 were good to me, but 2, I know it was good, but when I compare what they did with Khan, spoiler alert, Khan's in 2 of the newer iteration.
It is
This is the
okay.
title. Like.
To me, it's just like I like the way they did Khan the first time because
And
that
they're
was
just-
an
and they're
amazing
just remaking
story.
it. And at the end of it, where Kirk is the one that sacrifices himself, and Spock, you know, and it's Kirk sacrificing.
Yeah,
They tried to do a twist, and they failed because.
Mhm.
And then in the original movie, the whole scene where Kirk screams out "Khan," right?
yeah,
They have Spock doing that.
exactly.
And it's all forced and it's contrived. And in the second movie, did I really feel that Spock should be that broken up about Kirk dying?
There was no history.
There was no history that they had. And Spock's like, "You're my friend." Spock's not emotional like that.
No,
but
he's
at the
not.
end of Star Trek 2, the original one, when Spock dies, and you see Kirk's face
Right.
when he died, He
But
just
why? Because
lost.
of the history of everything.
He just lost his only friend in the world.
Yeah.
Like Kirk has the rest of the crew. Like yeah, him and like Bones are friends or whatever. But him and Spock are the ones like
Yeah.
that are like so. And then comes the new Star Trek movies that basically they have a Enterprise that's designed that looks like it was designed by Toyota. And the stories are recycled. And funny enough, they did a graphic novel in the lead up to the movie, which the story in that graphic novel, had they made that the movie
Right.
and then led into this, it would have changed everything. They should have made that graphic novel the movie
right.
because it starts off in the other Star Trek universe,
Yeah.
and it shows this thing happening where they end up in this universe, where in the movie they gloss over it. They kind of give you an explanation, but if you see the explanation in a movie form, like they could have had they transitioned that way,
Yeah.
changes
Could have
everything.
been the start of the movie.
That would have been a movie all by itself,
Yeah.
because you would have bring back Picard and characters that you want to see, right? Characters that are familiar. So if you're gonna hand off the baton, right?
Yeah.
Let it be handed off properly. Not somebody stands from back here and throws, and you hope you catch that.
Was that
baton.
Spock?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Oh my god.
I could go.
Yeah, that was a Sanjay Star Trek hot take.
Yeah,
Right there.
That was real.
Holy.
I could go on and on.
Yeah,
about this,
yeah,
so let's
but
move
no,
on to
but
something else.
bringing it back to reviving these franchises and everything there. I guess on my take on it, man, is that I understand the reasoning as why to these studios keep bringing back these old movies. They're trying to make money and they're trying to get on something that we can relate to, that's something we recognize, something that feels like home a little bit. That's why they brought back Star Wars Force Awakens. Because had they left Star Wars where it was, we would have been all right. It was something that we watch every once in a while. But when Force Awakens came out, it was a retelling of the first Star Wars. It was cool, and then all these other movies, when they just remake them, like I said, I have really no interest in seeing any of these Disney movies that they're remaking because it's just a live version of something I already saw. So really no interest for me. I like these new takes, like when Deadpool. They never did Deadpool. I never thought they would make a Deadpool movie. He was just
They would
too.
make a rated R movie.
Yeah, a rated R cartoon movie. Not cartoon, I'm sorry, a rated R comic book movie. I never thought I would see something like that, and it was awesome. And look at how great it did because it was a different idea, a different take on, a
But
comic
they
book
stayed
there.
true to the source material. They didn't, like for Deadpool, they tried to do like a PG-13 version
Yeah.
of it. It wouldn't have been Deadpool. It may have been the costume.
Right, it wouldn't have
It
been
may
it.
have looked like Deadpool, but
Absolutely.
it wouldn't have been Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I mean, like in the conversation of these movies being remade and everything like that, I just wanted to ask you guys what movie would you want to see remade if you could choose a movie to be remade or brought back? So like for me, I know something that I always love is Matrix. Matrix 1 is definitely up there. So I know there's always these rumors and these things going around saying that they're trying to make another Matrix, but there's nothing that's concrete just yet.
Yeah.
I would love to go back into that franchise again because I think there's more stories to tell. I think there's a better story to tell
So,
than the way that it ended, part 3.
Do you want it to be redone, or you want it to be added on to?
Added on to. I don't want to see Matrix
So wait,
1
so
all
what-
over again.
Tell me what you didn't like about the ending. Tell me what you would have liked to see. Tell me what you would do.
So for me, part 1, absolutely loved Matrix 1. That was so mind-blowing and so crazy. For 2, I don't know why people didn't like it that much. I personally liked it. I enjoyed the part 2. I thought it was long, but it was great. The traffic, not the traffic, the scene on the highway was insane. A lot of the visuals were crazy. But in part 3, the last one, Matrix Revolutions, they weren't in the
There's a lot of
Matrix that
build
often,
up.
and it was, I don't know. There's something about the movie that just didn't flow right. That didn't go with the rest of the movies, So it just came off. I don't know what I would do different, except that I would probably spend a little bit more time in the Matrix, maybe to flesh out that story a little bit better than how they ended it. I get the whole he's basically the Jesus thing, which a lot of stories do, but I just think it could have been done a lot better, especially with all the stuff that they were doing from part 1 and part 2.
I agree with you.
Something that I would want to see brought back, because there's a lack of these type of movies, is a good Western. I always remember watching Young Guns 1 and Young Guns 2. Even the movie with oh shoot, what's his name? They just did the movie. It wasn't The Hateful Eight.
I think it was
Magnificent Seven.
Magnificent Seven, actually. There it is. Yeah, that movie, that was a really good Western. So I would want to see another good Western. I know there's...
What Western story do you want to see? Because of one of the reasons why the Westerns went away is because they were telling the same exact story.
Pretty much, but that's what I'm saying.
Even with the same exact actors.
I would
every
want
single time.
something like Young Guns, but not Young Guns. I would want a story of a group of guys that meet up, almost like the Magnificent Seven. So like a blend of Magnificent Seven, Young Guns, just a good Western story. Because I don't want to see, like, we got the spaceships, we got all the comic book stuff, we got all the horror. I would like to see a good Western, maybe a new Western franchise of even maybe a story of Billy the Kid. I think he's fascinating, Billy the Kid.
They
and
have a
stuff.
movie out right now. Well, it's not exactly a Western.
Yeah.
No, it's not. When you said Billy the Kid, you got the Kevin Costner coming out with a movie about him hunting down Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, okay.
Which is not necessarily a Western.
No, but I would want to see a good Western. Al, for you, is there any kind of movies? Go for it.
Before you go over to what are the elements of a good Western? Like,
just a good story, because that I don't know. I just want to see a good story, a good movie that when I watch and I go, wow, that was good, that was awesome. Just a good story, a good tale. Like I said, maybe even a story about Billy the Kid, because Young Guns, that movie, like I said, I still remember to this day that movie. With Emilio Estevez and Lou Diamond Phillips. Mm-hmm. I still remember these characters, and I want something to touch me like that. I want something to make me feel attached to these characters, and something that I'm going to enjoy rewatching, something that I want to purchase and watch over and over again. So a good story, that's what I want to see in a Western. And like I said, The Matrix would be something I would want to see brought back. Brandon, is there any kind of like movie you want to see brought back or redone?
2 movies. I'll keep it short. I want to see a continuation on Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Okay.
Just because that was 10 graphic novels, that had all this awesome story with backstory to it.
Right.
So I'd like to see a continuation on that.
Live action video game.
Yeah, right? It's great. And what I want to see redone, and when I say redone, I want it to actually be done.
I know what you're going to say. Hold up. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
knew
what?
it. Yeah.
It's the Aragon series.
Yep,
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Aragon.
I knew it. I wasn't going to steal the thunder, but I wanted to know if I knew it. Okay.
Yeah.
It was like those books were incredible. And then
they came out with one, right?
They came out with the one movie that we
Aragon.
saw,
Sucked.
and it was terrible. It's like
Right.
it's
A
like
waste
what they,
of Jeremy Irons.
It's like what they did with the Avatar movie.
Right.
It was like you take this great story with all of this source,
Right.
and it's just like you poo-poo it. Just straight poo-poo. Like it's straight poo-poo. Like it's like you had all this great character material. This book was rich with material.
I know you always liked those books,
and you just
man,
poo-pooed it. Like it was just straight poo-poo. Like I couldn't stand it. So that
I love those
if
books
I
too,
can
yeah.
get those books into if you make there's 4 books, but if you could make 3 movies out of it and you do it
if they could do Lord of the Rings, they could do Aragon.
like it's simple enough. Like all you really need to do is just add the dragons. Like those are the only elements of CGI you would need to do.
Right.
Everything else is straight character development and scenes. Like
And with Game of
where's
Thrones,
the Varden?
In Du Veldenvarden.
Like I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because the way they talk about that in the first book and in the second book, and when everything starts happening,
Right.
I'm trying to picture this place in my head, and like I'm imagining this the most gorgeous place in the world. I want to see that.
Would I be wrong saying with the way that Game of Thrones is so popular now that Aragon done correct would get those fans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Because
That's what I'm thinking.
If you like Tolkien, if you like Game of Thrones, you're all over it.
Right.
It's in that space.
Right, that's
It's
what I'm
definitely
thinking.
in that
Yeah.
space. Like people go nuts for it because I remember Aragon. I picked up Aragon off of my little sister when she was like a preteen.
Right.
And she was reading these books, and I'm like, you want how Brandon was a lot younger than you as well. Like you want to like be up on what they're
What
and
they're
see.
looking at, what
Exactly.
they're reading, yeah.
And I read it, and I was like, I thought it was great, and then it became something great for me and her to share.
Right.
Where like it's this epic tale, and it was I want to see it done well because even the elves in that movie was so stupid. They made her look like a nymph.
Yeah.
right? And to me, the way the elves were described in the books, I actually thought they were more like Vulcans, but just more statuesque and with powers. You know,
This-
so that's the way they were described to me in the book.
Yeah, like the way the book describes everything, like the book hands you a movie
Yeah.
in its
Yeah,
pages.
like you can't help but it paints and the thing is he wrote this as a kid, but he paints that picture in your head for you with how he described
Yeah,
it.
I would love to see it. Listen, we all gave Lord of the Rings a shot, so
Yeah, I mean, it was
absolutely, so.
such an immersive experience reading those books.
Yeah.
I
Ah, what
remember,
about you?
what was
Oh.
the wait to get to the last book? I forgot the name of the last book already, but it was like almost
Last
7
one
years.
was Brissinger.
It was like 7 year wait,
Yeah,
you know, and it was just like
name-
getting
yeah,
to
the
that
name-
last book. I was like itching because every year I would hear a new thing about the book or an excerpt came out. Like an excerpt would come out of the book and just like, oh my god, like what chapter is this? What's the context? It was just
Yeah.
like the book did such an incredible job of painting you this picture and giving you this story that you couldn't wait to read. And you know, I don't like to read that often, you know, just because I'd rather be doing music stuff.
Right,
But like
right.
I couldn't wait to get this book in my hand. You know, and that was Christopher Paolini, right?
he literally has the book
in his hand
at this moment.
you know, Christopher Paolini, like I couldn't wait for this to come out.
Yeah.
That's how incredible the writing was for this.
All right, Al, man. Any movies that you would want to see brought back to the theaters or redone?
It's funny because when it came out, it was not well received. I think it bombed in the movies, in the theaters, but got a cult following. And I remember seeing it at home on HBO, and it was the first time. Big Trouble in Little China.
They're coming out with a sequel.
Oh,
The sequel, get out of here. Oh
Coming out
yeah,
with a sequel.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
dude,
I would want to see. That was
Yeah.
always
And
one
it's
of
not,
those
and they
movies.
made it clear it's not a reboot.
is it
It's
me
a
or is
sequel.
Raiden in that movie?
I feel like it's.
And no, but yes.
Yeah, I remember watching that movie, man. Big Trouble in Little China, definitely.
For copyright reasons, we cannot call the character Raiden.
Yeah. Sarge, any movie out there or that's old that you would want to see redone now?
I would have to agree with Brandon on Aragon.
Aragon?
I would have said the
Okay.
same exact thing because it's up there. It's up there with Game of Thrones. It's up there with The Hobbit and you know, all the Tolkien stories and Lord of the Rings and everything. It's in there, and it can be done, and it can be done right because those other things were done right. You know,
Yeah.
so that needs to be redone because the audience is there, the appetite for it is there. One of the things that I was talking to Mo yesterday. You know, we've been trying to get Mo to come down for one of these.
Yeah.
So I told him he couldn't make it tonight, but I told him what we were talking about, and he said he gave me one thing that he said I could use,
Okay.
but I'm giving him credit for it. So this is Mo, the Golden Girls,
The Golden
The
Girls.
TV show.
the TV show. He would love to see that like brought back.
Like a comedy?
But who would be?
I have no idea. We didn't go into it about who would play
Because
what.
those four were the perfect.
They were perfect. They were perfect.
Like I don't know any.
You guys are trying to see
old-ass
Blanche
ladies
again
like-
on the
Great.
theater?
Because I mean, and y'all could sit here and look at me funny for saying Golden Girls, but if I start saying thank you for being a friend, like y'all all know.
See, I
That's
can see it.
hilarious.
I just don't know who would be the Golden Girls.
That would be a funny comedy if they got the right people to play that. Yeah.
I think like a rehashing with like let's say
Oprah.
no,
No, bro.
but like something along the lines of like you throw a Tiffany Haddish in there somewhere.
And make
And-
them like just like older.
Yeah.
Playing those characters kind
Older
of thing.
playing those characters like there's characters that you could like you could throw a Queen Latifah in there for one of those characters.
I can see a lot of SNL characters playing those Golden Girls
the
too.
the actress on Blackish that plays Dre's mother. I can't remember her name, but you could see her in there as
Right.
well, playing as like the Blanche character
Uh-huh.
type.
So you got a girls trip version of Golden Girls.
Not necessarily. I mean, it seems that way because of the actresses that I'm saying, but it
Yeah.
just so happens that anytime you get a movie, with black actors or black actresses, it tends to be the same actors and actresses all
Yeah,
over
yeah.
again because of the lack of opportunity in Hollywood for black actors and black actresses. So when a movie comes out, like everybody's got to get on it so that they can get that paycheck to keep them going.
Absolutely.
But I think it would be a much different feel than Road Trip. Like, you know, I would say more of like you could make a movie like something like that. I
Yeah.
think is dying for like the movie treatment.
I got you.
You know, but for me, Aragon and I've been dying for Voltron to get the movie treatment.
Okay.
But I don't want Voltron to get the movie treatment if they're just gonna do what they did with Transformers.
Would you want to see like a live version of Voltron or
Yeah.
more like
Yeah,
animated?
because honestly, and Voltron may just be one of those intellectual properties that just works as a cartoon because they actually just finished earlier this year a Voltron series.
Season 7 of it.
Yeah,
That was an
and
incredible series.
It was
Incredible.
incredible. Like, very rarely can you say that the new version of something is better than the old version of something. The old version of Voltron, the only thing that it had on the new version of Voltron was the music,
Yeah.
right? But, the storytelling, there was so much more depth because basically the old version of Voltron series, every episode was the
Same
same
rehash.
exact thing.
Right.
Lotor or Zarkon, want to do something. They send a Robeast. They try to fight the Robeast as the Five Lions. They realize that they can't beat the Robeast as Five Lions, so they have to form Voltron. Voltron forms. Voltron gets beat up a little bit. Then Voltron remembers that he can form the Blazing Sword. Voltron forms the Blazing Sword and chops the Robeast in half.
It's
When-
the same strike all the time.
Rinse
It's the
and
same
repeat.
strike.
Straight down,
Rinse
straight down the
and
center.
repeat. Whereas in the recent Voltron series, they went into each character, and they made this time Pidge was a girl, which it was pretty much understood that Pidge was a girl
Right.
in the original cartoon, but they just didn't go with it.
Right.
But Pidge was actually a girl in this, and Princess Allura was more than just like
Can't afford.
a ditzy princess.
Right.
She was actually, very. She was like the most intelligent one. She had she was actually one of the oldest ones because she was in suspended animation for 10,000 years or whatever. But like she knew basically everything in the universe. She had power.
Right.
She knew how to wield the power, and she was like a real leader. And then they went into each character. They dived deep
Yeah,
into
the
each
storytelling is
character. So
great.
there was such great storytelling, such depth to the story, and Voltron didn't make an appearance in every episode.
Gotcha.
Right?
He didn't have to either.
Yeah,
So
he didn't have
you would
to.
want to see that as a movie.
Only I yes and no. I want to see it get the treatment,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know that anyone can do it right in a movie. Like the time frame of a movie to tell, like, first you got to tell the origin story, and that's a movie by itself.
Yeah.
And then so it would have to be something that is like a good 5 movies to really get a good treatment because of how much of the story there is to it. Otherwise, it's going to be one of those things where it's just rushed.
Yeah.
Then it's just, you might as well just have a Power Rangers movie, because that's basically Power Rangers is a cheap knockoff of Voltron.
Right.
So like, yeah, if you want to do that, do another Power Rangers movie
Yeah.
and just do that. But if you want to do Voltron actually has some depth to it. I would like to see that. But honestly, I don't want to see remakes. I want new stuff. I want to see fresh stuff.
You know what? I have a couple things that I thought I would want to see made for the first time. Thundercats.
Thunder.
Why
I
are
don't
they
know.
gonna do that? I could've
Allegedly, they
sworn
were
I
going to
heard
do
that.
that, but I don't
It's
know.
another one of those things like you can't
do it
rush
right
it.
or
You got to
not,
do it
yeah.
right.
Yeah, take your time with it. Thundercats
Because
is
you're like a
one.
fool.
Because that's one of my favorite shows as a kid, man. I love Thundercats. Another thing I would want to see, maybe in the movies, done for the first time, Metroid.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Metroid, I could see a nice space movie off of that.
Yeah.
Female lead, going
Be a
after
good move for
the
Nintendo.
Metroids, man.
Yeah.
You know what could be like, I wouldn't say like Aragon, nothing like Aragon, but Zelda too. You know?
Yeah.
Zelda's been around for how long, and it has so many different games, so they have so many different
I
stories.
mean,
that
they
could
made
tell.
that one Mario movie. So.
I'm not doing that, Mario.
Goomba, Goomba.
Yeah.
But I think that Mario movie, like, it was what I expected for a Mario movie, because Mario was like just very cheesy, like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatnot. Like, if you're gonna go do Zelda, like, there's actual real story there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like this is the time for these kind of movies.
Right,
like
'cause you
the,
can do
the
them now.
Aragon movie and the Legend of Zelda movie. Like, we are in that period where people would want to see something like
Yeah.
that.
If it's done right, man, because it can't be done cheesy. It has to be a good story.
To me, the Zelda like
It's more plausible.
would to me needs to have a feel like the Hunger Games for it to work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I don't want it to be the Hunger Games, but it
Yeah.
has to have like that look.
I mean, if you even did an Ocarina of Time kind of based
Right,
movie,
Ocarina of
like
Time.
that's the most
Now,
realistic.
granted,
you
I
can do.
don't want like a half hour or an hour and a half of him going to different dungeons collecting a
Yeah.
boomerang and a bomb. You know what I'm saying? I want just the story of Zelda or the Legend of Zelda and Link.
You don't want the water temple where he gets his heavy boots.
I don't want him to go heavy boots.
I got my heavy boots.
I don't want him to go to a ferry to get like healed, you know. But I would love to see a story involving those characters and that those stories there that they have there. What else did I have there? What I would want to see done remade but done right. G.I. Joe. You know the way that they did it. Just wow! I just like can't believe it.
Remember they killed off Channing Tatum like nothing.
Yo, they just took Duke
Yeah.
out. Son.
What else? I would want to see Nightmare on Elm Street done again.
No, I don't
But
see
I
it done
can't
again.
because
No, I
they've
don't
already
see it
redone
done
it, and then they redone the redone. It's just like
Because
It just keeps getting cheesier and cheesier.
but that's what I'm saying.
It
But
does
done
nothing-
right.
even
no,
Wes Craven,
yeah.
he's like,
Here's
I'm
why-
done.
Here's why you can't do it right.
Right.
Because nothing will have the impact of seeing it for the first time.
Right.
So don't.
No.
Just
a
don't.
new horror
yeah.
person.
Like
Yeah.
let it be. There's a reason like they don't remake Gone with the Wind.
Mhm.
They tried adding to the story, and it was mediocre at best.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna. No, you don't, because part of it was the look of Clark Gable and you know and everything. Like you're not gonna have that lightning was captured in that bottle. Like,
Yeah.
You're not gonna capture that again. You know, if you're on that tip, you know what I think the time is right for. That could just be a standalone movie.
What?
Castlevania.
Castlevania. Right. That's another
I mean,
one.
Netflix is doing very well with the Castlevania series.
Right. You know, and that's what when we were talking about like reviving and the new franchises. For me, that's where I go to see new franchises is in Netflix. You know, they have all these different. Did you ever see Sense8? It wasn't that great, but it was a great concept, a
Yeah, it was
different
a great
idea.
concept.
Even look, Black Mirror, great
Yeah.
concept, different idea.
Well,
you know?
Black Mirror is not a new idea. That's the Twilight Zone.
Oh well, yeah, definitely. It's Twilight Zone, but just it was something I never
What
saw
they're-
before.
what-
you
what,
know,
like-
those stories.
How they're telling the stories, the story that they're
Exactly.
telling,
Yeah,
you know, is a little bit, you know,
yeah.
Black Mirror is like kind of like this shit could actually happen like next year.
Right.
You know, like because they're making it very technology based, but the type of story that it is and the non-serialized, you know, an anthology type series,
Yeah.
you know, without the narrator.
I got
But
you.
to me, Black Mirror is an evolution of the Twilight Zone.
All
I
right.
won't say a knockoff or a knock-on or anything. To me, it's like it's an evolution
Yeah.
of the Twilight Zone.
Has anyone seen the new Twilight Zone yet?
Yes.
No.
I
Oh, I
love
haven't
it.
seen it. Because
I
I know
want-
it's
I
on,
wanna
it's
check it out.
online.
It's
I'm
on
actually gonna
YouTube,
wa-
yeah.
When we're
Yeah.
done here, I'm gonna watch the third episode.
I'm gonna check that out
All
today.
right. And you guys have any other movies you guys want to see remade or redone or something? Anything? Nothing.
I mean, I would like some kind of. I really just want to see a Nightwing movie.
Yes.
A Nightwing movie, okay. For
You know,
DC.
like I mean, like of all the things I want to see, like I feel like this Nightwing thing has been like around and about for God knows how many years, and I'm just like, I love that the Nightwing concept. I just want to
Yeah.
get it now. I just want it.
I may be showing my age with this one, but
No, go
has
for it, man.
Anybody seen Krull?
Crow?
Krull, Krull.
I've heard of it.
It's a movie. Maybe if I describe it, his weapon is like a giant ninja star with blades on it.
No, I never heard of it.
Look it up.
Okay.
It's an old movie. It's corny
You would
because
wanna
of
see
when
redone.
it came out. But if you can redo that movie
Yeah,
now,
with today's
it'd be
thing.
interesting to see.
I'm waiting for a
Sanji.
Mega Man movie to come
Mega
out.
Man.
I'm waiting. Someone's gonna do that to us.
Anything Kassan stands out to you that you would want to see redone or anything?
What would I want to see redone? I did have something in mind like a second ago, and then now it leaves me. So if I remember it, I'll say it. If not, whatever.
Yeah, no worries, man. So listen, we're gonna end the podcast right there. So we went into today, like I said, the new franchises that we'd want to see done, and you know our thoughts on this trend with Hollywood just redoing and remaking all these movies now. And you heard our take. We'd love to hear your take. You guys could reach us at therealfanreview@gmail.com. You can go to our website, therealfanreview.com, and you can leave us a message on there. If you guys have any topics, questions, let us know. We'll definitely go over those questions and those topics on the next podcast. Our next podcast is going to be a big one. It's going to be our pregame for Avengers Endgame. So if you guys are big fans of those like we are, of those Marvel movies, just come back to us. We're going to go over everything that led up to this moment for Avengers Endgame. We're going to go into Infinity War, Captain Marvel, our thoughts, any new things that we think about. So it'll be a big one. So again, if you guys are listening to us, we appreciate you guys listening. Subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. What else we're on?
Ooh, it came back
Twitter.
to me.
Oh, he got something. Hold on.
I want to see The Prince of Persia remade.
Okay.
And the reason I want to see The Prince of Persia remade, I'm going to just throw it out there, just raw. I want it to not be a white guy playing the Prince of Persia.
Jake Gyllenhaal didn't do it for you?
No, honestly, I think I like Jake Gyllenhaal, and I thought he actually did a pretty good job playing the character.
It wasn't appropriate.
But it needs to have a more Middle Eastern, South Asian feel.
Well, I think these studios now feel more comfortable opening it up.
I would love to see a movie, The Prince of Persia, with that story set in the proper setting with the proper actors and actresses playing the parts.
Yeah, definitely, man. All right, guys. So we're going to cut it right there. Again, we appreciate you guys listening. Follow us, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Find us. And again, any questions, any comments, any kind of suggestions, we're willing to listen, read, and take. We'll catch you guys next time with a Real Fan Review.